Ever wish those brainstorming sessions felt a little less meeting and a little more eureka?
Right, like you've struck gold.
Exactly. But what if you could take the human element out of brainstorming entirely?
Okay, now that sounds like we're heading into sci-fi territory.
Well, get this. Researchers have actually created this AI system. It's called VRSCI, short for virtual scientists.
Virtual scientists?
Yeah. And it basically simulates entire research teams to figure out how innovation really
They're
happens.
like AI scientists forming their own think tanks and bouncing ideas around.
That's it. I was floored when I first heard about this.
Where do you even start with something like that? It
Yeah.
almost feels like a lot to unpack.
Right. It's wild. But that's why we're doing a deep dive, right?
Absolutely. Let's get into it. So, how does this VRCI thing actually work?
Well, the really interesting part is it's designed to mirror how we do research just digitally. They took a data set of actual scientists and their published work, computer science, specifically from like 1948 to 2014, and built these AI agents that essentially act like digital researchers.
So, you've got this digital research lab where AI is running the show, and we get to peek behind the curtain.
Exactly. It's broken down into 5 main steps, starting with collaborator selection. Just like how we'd put together a team with the right mix of skills, VRSCI considers their expertise and even past collaborations to build the teams.
Past collaborations. So, even AI gets that it's not just about who's the smartest person in the room.
Right. It's about who works well together, too.
Makes sense. You need that rapport, the shared understanding.
Yeah.
Okay, so the team's assembled. What's next?
Step 2 is called topic discussion. This is where things get interesting. They have a whole system for this, using a database of existing research to shape their ideas.
Wait, hold on. They're actually having conversations about research, the AI.
Yeah, like back and forth discussions.
I can't even imagine what that looks like. Do they argue over methodologies? Poke holes in each other's theories?
That's the thing they kind of do. It's not quite witty banter yet, but these AI agents go back and forth, refining each other's ideas over multiple turns, just like a real research team would.
That's kind of amazing and a little unnerving, if I'm being honest.
Right. But also, think about the potential here. If we can analyze these AI interactions, could it actually help us improve real world teamwork?
I see where you're going with that.
Right.
Okay, so they've got their research topic hammered out through these digital debates. What happens in step 3?
This is where the real brainstorming begins. They call it idea generation. And get this, they don't just throw any idea out there. Each AI has to justify their thought process, ranking their idea on how clear, how doable, and how novel it is.
So even in the AI world, you've got to back up your brilliance.
Apparently, they built in a system for rigor, which, frankly, I kind of admire.
I like the sound of that. Rigorous brainstorming.
Right. Okay, so what's next? They got the brainstorming down, but how did they sift through all those ideas?
That's where novelty assessment comes in, which is step 4. They actually critique each other's work, making sure that the ideas are truly pushing boundaries and not just rehashing old ideas.
It's like peer review, but with AI.
Built-in quality control. No echo chamber there.
Exactly. They're encouraging truly innovative thinking. This is what I mean. It's like they've distilled the essence of a good research team, and we get to study it.
Okay, I'm hooked. So what's the last stage of this AI research adventure?
They go from brainstorming to a fully fleshed out abstract in the final step, called, you guessed it, abstract generation.
So the whole 9 yards.
The whole 9 yards, all within this simulated environment. It's amazing, but it also begs the question, what's the point of all this? What do we as humans gain from watching AI do science?
Now that is the million-dollar question. Because really what makes this research so fascinating is that it's not about replacing us, but about learning how to be better collaborators ourselves.
Okay, I'm definitely getting some Black Mirror vibes here, but tell me more about these groundbreaking findings. What's AI teaching us about teamwork?
Get ready for some curveballs.
Yeah.
Because VRSCI is already challenging some of our biggest assumptions about teamwork. Like, how many times have we said, let's get more brains on this, 2 heads are better than 1, right?
Right, more people, more power. That's the general idea.
Well, VRSCI found that bigger isn't always better. When they added more AI agents to a team, they saw more novel ideas at first, just like you'd expect.
Okay, makes sense.
But there's a catch. There's a point where it actually backfires.
Really? Too many cooks in the kitchen.
You got it. They found the sweet spot for team size. Okay, this was 8. 8 AI agents. And after that, the ideas weren't as novel anymore. It's like there's this threshold where too many perspectives actually make things worse, you know?
8. I never would guessed it was that specific.
That's really interesting. What other findings jumped out at you?
Well, remember how VRCI takes past collaborations into account when building these AI teams?
Yeah, like figuring out who's worked well together before.
Exactly. You'd think those teams would be the most innovative, right?
Yeah.
Turns out, not so much. The teams that came up with the most original ideas were actually the ones with more fresh faces. Interesting. So, shaking things up a bit helps. I've definitely felt that energy before. Joining a new project and feeling like you're bringing something different to the table.
Exactly. And VRSCI actually measured that feeling.
Yeah.
They call it freshness. And the teams with about 50% freshness, meaning half the team members hadn't really worked together before those teams were the most innovative.
That's fascinating. How do they even quantify freshness? Like, is there an algorithm for that?
Basically, yeah, it looks at the history of collaborations within the data.
Yeah.
So each AI agent represents a real scientist,
Yeah.
right? And they track how often those scientists have actually worked together in the past. So a fresh collaboration means those two AI agents or the scientists they're based on haven't collaborated much, if at all.
So, like bringing in someone who can look at things with a fresh pair of eyes, it's not just new ideas, it's new ways of approaching the problem altogether.
That's it. It adds a level of flexibility to the team. This finding could be huge for how we think about putting teams together in the real world, maybe even pushing us to collaborate outside our usual circles more.
It's like those team building exercises where they make you work with someone you've barely spoken to.
Right. Maybe there's a method to that madness.
Maybe so.
Okay.
What else? Well, this one isn't so surprising, but it's definitely worth mentioning the power of diversity. VISCI basically confirmed what we've been seeing in the real world. Diverse teams are more innovative, period. It's funny, isn't it, how AI is basically backing up what we humans have kind of always known, but it's good to have the data. So, how did VRSCI actually measure diversity?
In their simulations, they looked at the AI team's expertise, so different specialties within computer science in this case. And the more diverse the team's expertise was, the more creative and impactful their research proposals turned out to be.
It makes sense, right? Diverse backgrounds, diverse solutions. There's that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. But maybe it should be, if you want to go far, go together with a diverse team.
Absolutely. It's not just a buzzword, it actually makes a difference. But I will say, thinking about all this, part of me can't help but feel a little, I don't know, intimidated. Like, if AI is already analyzing and perfecting teamwork, what does that mean for us?
Right. Is this the beginning of the robot takeover? I'm half joking. But seriously, it does make you wonder about the future of human collaboration.
I get it, it's easy to go there. But what if instead of replacing us, AI is actually giving us the tools to be even better collaborators?
Okay, so less robots are taking over, and more robots are here to help us up our teamwork game.
Exactly. Like, take that magic number, 8. Maybe not every team needs to be exactly 8 people, yeah, but it does make you think twice about those massive project teams.
Right? So break it down into smaller groups, especially in the beginning when you're still brainstorming.
Right. More focused, more dynamic.
Makes sense. And what about freshness? Are we supposed to be constantly switching teams like some kind of corporate mixer?
It's not about the constant shuffle. It's more about building a culture where we actually seek out diverse perspectives and really value them.
I can see that. Even within teams, there are ways to do that, right? Like cross departmental brainstorming sessions or just having people from different teams share their work with each other.
Exactly. Even something as simple as inviting someone from another team to sit in on a meeting just to get their take on things, or mentorship programs, pairing up people from different backgrounds, it all adds up.
It's about creating that environment where people feel comfortable sharing their ideas, even if they're totally out there.
And that's how you get those breakthrough moments, right? Now, diversity, we all know it's important, but how do we actually make it happen? How do we build teams that are truly diverse and inclusive?
You feel like it's got to be more than just ticking boxes, right?
It definitely is. It starts with awareness. We've all got our own biases, and we need to acknowledge them, especially when we're building a team or making decisions as a group.
It's natural to want to work with people who are similar to us, but that's not always what's best for the project.
Right. We have to actively seek out people who are different from us, different backgrounds, different skills, different ways of seeing the world.
Embrace those differences.
Exactly. And it's not just about demographics. It's about diversity of thought, too. We need to create spaces where everyone feels safe speaking their minds, even if they're challenging the status quo.
That's the dream, isn't it? A team where everyone feels heard, everyone feels valued. And it's amazing to me that AI is not just validating these ideas, but actually giving us concrete ways to put them into practice.
It really is incredible when you think about it. We started with this AI simulating research teams, and now we're talking about unlocking human potential.
Right. Who knew that AI scientists could teach us so much about ourselves? This whole deep dive has been mind blowing.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder what other insights are still waiting to be discovered, all thanks to AI.
As AI keeps evolving, I'm excited to see how it continues to change the way we work and collaborate.
Me too. It's like we're all on this journey of discovery together, humans and AI.
That's a great place to leave it. So, to everyone listening, keep those teams diverse, keep those ideas flowing, and never be afraid to bring a fresh perspective to the table. Until next time.